Part 130. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1299. After Zhuangjia went back with the bottle of Shankan multidimensional tablets, she pretended to be casual and placed it on the table. Song Jingru, who was sitting by the bed, saw that her eyes seemed to be pricked by needles, her pupils suddenly shrank, and she was stunned for a while. Zhuangjia pretended not to know, packed up some toiletries, and went to the bathroom. When he came back, he had already removed his makeup and loosened his hair. He looked refreshed, and he was only wearing a men's shirt. Her figure is so enviable, she has the proportions of a natural model, with long legs and thin waist, graceful and graceful. The shirt was worn loosely on her body, although it covered all the places that should be covered, but the slightly open neckline, the soft collarbone, and Swinen's long legs, every part of it aroused people's imagination. Zhuangjia brushed her hair and walked to the bed, lay down under the covers and played with her mobile phone. Everyone in the room knew whose shirt she was wearing. Hu Fangfang looked at her silently for a while, then turned over and lay down. And Song Jingru's face turned pale, she bit her lip and stared at Zhuangjia for a moment, her eyes gradually turned red, and she seemed to be in a daze. Zhuangjia, who had already been lying in bed, didn't see Song Jingru's face, she was just out of anger, and couldn't be bothered that Song Jingru was courting Yangda in front of her real girlfriend. Tearing her face and making a lot of noise is not in line with her temperament of a young lady. She wants to let the other party back out of difficulties silently and loudly, and completely stop thinking about it. The night was dark, and after an unknown amount of time, Hu Fangfang's voice sounded in the room, Song Jingru, go and turn off the lights. Zhuangjia heard the creaking sound of the bed. It was Song Jingru who got up from the bed, put on her shoes, walked slowly to the wall, turned off the lights, and then came back slowly. In the darkness, only Zhuangjia's cell phone was still on. Zhuangjia was also sleepy, so she turned off her cell phone and closed her eyes to sleep. This sleep was not solid. Compared with home, the bedboards in the dormitory are narrow and hard, and the quilt is stuffy, which she can easily feel. The filling material is artificial polyester fiber, not even cotton. What's more terrible is the bed sheet. She is used to sleeping on long staple cotton and satin sheets. Now the one under her body is rough and thin, and it is easy to stick to the skin when she turns over. It seems to be pilled, which makes her skin itchy. Despite the heavy sleepiness, Zhuangjia slept in pain. Thinking that her sweetheart was next door, she gritted her teeth and endured the joys and sorrows. Even if she slept on inferior polyester blended sheets, she felt sweet in her heart. Just fell asleep like this. In the middle of the night, Zhuangjia faintly heard the woman sobbing, and she was so frightened that she woke up immediately. After listening silently for a while, I was sure it was not haunted. It was Song Jingru on the bed next to her who was crying. Zhuangjia was speechless for a while. What's going on in the dead of night, hiding in bed and crying? You vent your sadness and despair, and I feel wronged and resentful. Zhuangjia pouted in her bed, feeling melancholy. Song Jingru cried for an hour, and Zhuangjia listened for an hour. She reflected on herself, did she go too far, deliberately wearing her boyfriend's shirt to sleep? It was really a show of arrogance. Look, it made the girl cry. Why do women make things difficult for women? But after 2 seconds of sympathy, Zhuangjia thought again, the more Song Jingru cried heartbroken, the more it meant that she loved Yang so much that she couldn't help herself. Thinking of this, Zhuangjia felt a little upset again. Song Jingru sobbed softly, crying endlessly. Zhuangjia was anxious and annoyed. Suddenly there was a small sound from the window, like sand and gravel being blown by the wind, but Zhuangjia didn't care. After a while, the window rang again. Ka ka ka. Ka ka ka. Zhuangjia frowned, opened his eyes and looked over. With just one glance, her blood seemed to freeze. The brain is even more blank. She saw that the window was half open, and there was a face poking in tremblingly. Blessed to have each other in this life, mused Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1300. Before Zhuangjia could react, Song Jingguo screamed in horror. Ah 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 ah. Her shrill cry woke up Hu Fangfang and brought Zhuangjia back to her senses. And that face seemed to be frightened, and it shrank out of the window without a trace. There was the sound of messy footsteps in the corridor, followed by a hasty knock on the door. What's going on? What happened inside? People outside were shouting. Song Jingguo opened the door in a panic and ran out. With extraordinary precision, she found Yu Yang from a group of disheveled men, and threw herself into his arms crying. When Zhuangjia walked out of the dormitory, she saw Song Jingguo wearing only a thin nightgown, crying and hugging Yu Yang tightly, almost hanging on him. At this moment, the turbulent jealousy is like a majestic giant wave, slapping down the fear of seeing a grimace. There are only two words left in her heart. She was really out of her mind, that's why when she heard Song Jingguo crying just now, she sympathized with kindness for 2 seconds. To be soft-hearted to the enemy is to be cruel to yourself. Zhuangjia stared at the pendant stuck to Yang's body with an ugly expression, and said nothing, her eyes flashed angrily. However, Yu Yang's complexion was uglier than hers. He looked at Zhuangjia and said with a dark face, go into the house. Zhuangjia came back to her senses, looked down at the unbuttoned clothes, and at the long legs exposed under the shirt. Suddenly, she felt embarrassment, anger, and grievance. She pouted, turned her face and entered the room. I thought with disdain in my heart, what's the matter, wearing a bikini on the beach is much more revealing than this one. At the end, I thought to myself, the suspender night dress on Song Jingguo's body is made of much less material than the shirt, so why should I not train her? At this time, Yu Yang's reprimand came from outside the door. The tone is cold and solemn, extremely severe. Song Jingguo, do you still remember that you are a prosecutor? What are the basic principles of a prosecutor's professional ethics? Zhuangjia was slightly taken aback, and quickly pricked up his ears. After waiting for a while, she heard Song Jingguo's crying stopped and turned into a low sobbing. Yu Yang asked coldly, what is the basic code of professional ethics for prosecutors, Chapter 2, Article 7. Song Jingguo choked up and replied, persist in the purpose of establishing inspections for the public, law enforcement for the people, safeguarding the fundamental interests of the overwhelming majority of the people, protecting the people's livelihood, serving the people, being close to the people, serving the people, benefiting the people, and facilitating the people. At the end of the speech, his voice trembled weakly, as if he couldn't cry. Yu Yang was unmoved, and sternly lectured, do you still remember that law enforcement is for the people? Do you remember protecting people's livelihood and serving the masses? After the incident happened, you, as a prosecutor, neither investigated the situation nor protected the weak. You first out. Why are you crying? Do taxpayers pay just to watch you cry? No one in the corridor dared to speak. In the oppressive silence, there was only the sound of Song Jingguo's forbearing weeping. Zhuangjia thought about it in the room, when he said protecting the weak, does the weak mean me? Yu Yang, who was outside the door, asked again, the basic rules of professional ethics for prosecutors, Chapter 5, Article 37, what is it? Song Jingguo just cried and was speechless. Yu Yang said indifferently, you don't remember, let me remind you, Article 37, pay attention to professional etiquette constraints, dignified appearance, generous manner, maintain good professional ethics and demeanor, and maintain a good image of prosecutors. Song Jingguo, Do you think your performance today is professional? Do you have a professional demeanor? Has the good image of the prosecutor been maintained? I will give you 1 day to write a self-review and hand it over to Hu Fangfang tomorrow, otherwise your internship quota will be removed. The voice fell, and there was no sound outside. Zhuang Jia listened hard, wanting to know Song Jingguo's reaction, but only heard the scattered footsteps going away. Click. Yu Yang pushed the door open and came in. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1301. Zhuang Jia's heart skipped a beat, and she immediately ran to the bed and slipped into the bed. Maybe Yu Yang was too strict outside just now, and now she is inexplicably guilty, and has the illusion that the dean of training is coming. After Yu Yang came in, he immediately locked the door. Zhuang Jia. No. Really want to train people? Zhuang Jia opened a pair of big, clear, and watery eyes, and looked at Yu Yang in a daze, her face full of apprehension. Yu Yang came over and asked her, "Where are the pants?" Zhuang Jia was stunned. "What pants?" I asked, "Where did you put your pants?" "I'm wearing a skirt." Yu Yang looked at her helplessly. Zhuang Jia stretched out a hand from under the quilt and pointed in a direction. Yu Yang glanced and saw her clothes hanging on the back of the chair, reached out and grabbed the skirt, and put it on for Zhuang Jia. Shrunk under the quilt, there is no way to wear it. Zhuang Jia silently cooperated with Yang's movements, sat on the edge of the bed, put her hands on both sides of Yang's shoulders, and put her feet into her skirt. "Stand up," Yu Yang said. Zhuang Jia stood up. Yu Yang lifted her skirt and leaned over to zip up the back for her. The tweed slim fit A-line skirt unreservedly reveals the curve from the waist to the hip, and with a pair of mid-length boots, it is soft and elegant, full of youthful atmosphere. Zhuang Jia is very good at dressing herself up, and also knows how to show her body advantages. Yu Yang sighed slightly in his heart, and buttoned her up to the top button of her neckline in silence. Zhuang Jia looked at Yang's face, vaguely felt that he would not scold her anymore, and asked fearlessly, "How did you feel just now?" After finishing buttoning her buttons, Yu Yang lowered her head and rolled up her overly long sleeves layer by layer, and asked expressionlessly, "Which aspect?" "It's the feeling of her rushing forward." Zhuang Jia curled the corner of her mouth lightly, her tone was sour. "It's so tight, flesh squeezing flesh, you must feel everything." Yu Yang's movements paused, and he raised his eyes to look at her. "I'm about to die of anger from you, even if I feel it, I don't care about it." When he said this, there was no hint of ridicule, his eyes were calm, and his expression was very serious. Zhuang Jia looked at him in a daze. After a while, she regained consciousness, she turned her face away embarrassingly, and muttered, "It's not like everyone is like you, they even dress neatly when they sleep." Yu Yang gave a faint hum, grabbed another coat and put it on for her. "I accept this reason, so I didn't ask you to write a review." After hearing this, Zhuang Jia became inexplicably happy, buried her face in his neck, and acted affectionately. Yu Yang saw that she was taken advantage of by so many pairs of eyes outside, and she still looked heartless. He was slightly annoyed, rubbed her into his arms, and kissed her vigorously. The time and occasion were wrong, so he could only punish him lightly. After kissing her for a while, he let go of her, checked again from head to toe to make sure that Zhuang Jia was fully dressed, and he opened the door to let others in. Many people came outside. There was Yu Yang's assistant, and several familiar police officers. Song Jingguo was also there, her eyes were red and swollen, and she was wearing a man's coat. Zhuang Jia recognized that it was Li Rui's clothes. Yu Yang left 2 people to investigate the scene, and then took the rest to the next dormitory for a meeting, mainly to understand the situation. What happened in the end, only the three women living in the dormitory know. He asked Hu Fangfang first, and Hu Fangfang looked dazed, completely ignorant of what happened. Then I asked Song Jingru. Song Jingru still had tears on her face, but her emotions had calmed down. Su Shi cried too sadly just now, and now her voice was hoarse when she spoke. I heard the window being opened, and when I opened my eyes, I saw a face on the window sill. She said, raising her eyes to look at Yu Yang, "It's consistent with what you found out in the village, it's a moving face's face. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1302. Song Jingru said that she saw a face by the window. This is really scary. Because this dormitory is on the third floor, although it is not too high, there is no reliable point of support on the outer wall. It is almost impossible for a person to climb up with bare hands and evacuate quickly within a few seconds. Li Rui couldn't help but asked, "Did you hear what those policemen said during the meeting today, and you were frightened, so you had a similar dream at night?" "Who opened the window?" Song Jingru retorted with red eyes. "When we were sleeping, the windows were closed." She turned her head and asked Hu Fangfang, "Hu Fangfang, the window is closed, right?" Hu Fangfang frowned, nodded, and said "The windows are sliding left and right, with metal locks, but they are rarely locked. Over time, the locks get rusted and become difficult to buckle, and the people who live here are even more lazy to lock them." Yu Yang looked at Zhuangqie. "Did you notice anything unusual at night?" When he asked this question, he looked serious and calm, as if Zhuangqie was an ordinary witness to the case. Zhuangqie was treated coldly. Instead of being angry, a secret sweetness grew in her heart. She also didn't understand what she was being sweet about. However, in the face of the questioning of the prosecutor, it is still necessary to be more serious. Zhuangqie recalled the situation just now, and said, "I also heard the creaking of the window. I turned my head and looked at it, and found that the window was opened a little bit, and there was a head. It looked like it was about to climb in. I was so scared. And then, she cried out, and that thing suddenly disappeared." Everyone looked serious. If only one person saw it, there might be a possibility of misreading it, but Zhuangqie also saw it. Zhuangqie did not participate in their meeting, did not know what happened in the village, and could not have had nightmares because of this, dreaming of similar things. Hu Fangfang looked at Yu Yang nervously. "Is this directed at us?" According to the common saying of the villagers, when they heard movement in the house in the middle of the night, they thought that a thief had entered the house. When they got up to check, they found a face crawling around in the house, and fled quickly after being found. Yu Yang said lightly, "Combined from today's situation, we can draw at least two conclusions." He looked at Li Rui. "Li Rui, tell me." "Ah. Li Rui was suddenly called on and scratched his head in embarrassment. "This guy is fast." Yu Yang Gui frowned inaudibly, and looked at Tang Linhao beside him. "Let's talk about it." Tang Linhao said, "First of all, it can be seen from several cases that although the other party can easily sneak into the residence, it neither steals property nor shows signs of harming others, so it should be timid and pose no danger to people. Even fearing people's retaliation, he could only run away. Secondly, the opening of the window is too small to accommodate a normal human figure, and it is difficult for even a child to enter through it flexibly. Coupled with such factors as agility and quick response, it is preliminarily judged that it is a climbing creature. Animal. But it has a human face. Song Jingru couldn't help interjecting, feeling slightly agitated. Yu Yang glanced at her lightly. According to the situation reported by the villagers, many people said it was a human face, but due to factors such as light, no witnesses could really see it clearly, so this is what we need to investigate next. Direction. When weird things happen, You should try to find out the reason instead of panicking. Facing Yang's indifference, Song Jingru bit her lip, with grievance and resentment that couldn't be concealed on her face. Police officers came in. Yu Yang stood up and asked, "Is there any result?" "Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1303. There are some scratches on the windowsill, some of which are covered by snow, and the marks are unclear. However, we found a few animal hairs in the cracks of the window. It is suspected to be ape-like creatures, but we need to wait for further confirmation from the laboratory. Yu Yang nodded slightly, and said, "Let's rest tonight, wait for the results of the laboratory tomorrow, and call the whole team for a meeting." "Do you need to arrange manual protection?" "Unnecessary." After a few simple commands, the people in the room left one after another. Yu Yang called Li Rui and Tang Linhao to stop. "You two, come out with me." The two followed Yu Yang out. Not long after that, Hu Fangfang gathered her clothes and left. The remaining Zhuangjia and Song Jingru had nothing to say and were out of place. Song Jingru's eyes were still red and swollen, and she didn't want Zhuangjia to see her joke, so she followed Hu Fangfang and left the room. Zhuangjia sat alone in the room, with half of her body leaning against the table, her chin resting on her hands, her calf dangling from side to side, doing nothing. There was such a fuss in the middle of the night, and all the drowsiness ran away. She hesitated whether to go back to sleep, but she didn't want to face Song Jingru very much, and felt quite embarrassed. In retrospect, Song Jingru is also pitiful. She can't like anyone, but she has to like Yu Yang. Rational, cold, and severe. It doesn't matter if you like him secretly, because he doesn't care about your mood at all, and he doesn't care about your fragility. He will only assign you tasks in a business-like manner. And when you screw up, expect the most ruthless reprimand. Thinking about it this way, Zhuangjia felt that Song Jingru was simply looking for abuse. If Song Jingru wasn't Yu Yang's subordinate, she might still have a chance, but now, all her affection will be put into the letter of self-criticism. "I don't know if I will cry while writing?" She was thinking wildly, and Yu Yang came back from the outside. Seeing that he was carrying her lady's satchel in his hand, Zhuangjia couldn't help being slightly stunned. Just as she was about to ask, Yu Yang said, "You will sleep here with me tonight." "What?" Zhuangjia blinked, wondering if she had heard it wrong, asking her to sleep in a dormitory with 3 big men? "This is suitable?" She glanced behind Yang. The door was closed and locked. Seeing the confusion on her face, Yu Yang explained, "Li Rui and Tang Linhao are going to live in a youth hostel tonight." Zhuangjia was stunned. It was the standard double room that smelled of damp and musty, and the neighbors on the left and right looked wretched and rude. "Hope they don't mind." "Will the superior reimburse you?" Zhuangjia asked. Yu Yang loosened his neckline, took off his coat, and said calmly, "I'll reimburse them." Zhuangjia pursed her lips and smiled, "Then I'll sleep in your bed." Yeah, he sat down beside Tang Linhao's bed, frowned and lifted the quilt, with a look of disgust and helplessness on his face, and finally he didn't take off his clothes, and lay down neatly on it, like a patient with a cleanliness disorder facing the cruel reality passive resistance. And Zhuangjia happily took off her outer clothes, kicked off her shoes, and got into Yu Yang's original bed. The bed was still the one arranged in the dormitory, but because Yu Yang had been lying on it, to Zhuangjia, it was as if it had been sterilized invisibly, and he felt very comfortable sleeping. She rolled into a ball, only her head was exposed outside the quilt. Seeing the well-dressed man on the next bed, Zhuangjia couldn't help laughing. "Go to sleep." Yu Yang closed his eyes and sighed helplessly, "If you don't sleep, it will be dawn." Zhuangjia was excited. How could he sleep? She rolled on the bed, tossed and turned repeatedly, and the bedboard creaked from time to time. In the silent late night, this sound is especially piercing. challenging the brain nerves. Yu Yang couldn't bear it anymore, got out of bed and walked over in silence, wrapped in her arms with the quilt. She finally calmed down. After a while, Zhuangjie twisted in his arms and called his name softly. Yu Yang. Did you hear anything? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1304. Yu Yang opened his eyes and listened intently. Faintly, there seemed to be some strange sounds. Song Jingru is crying again, Zhuangjie whispered, observing Yu Yang's expression. Yu Yang looked indifferent, as calm as hearing the wind and rain outside. Zhuangjie asked him tentatively, in the future, what are you going to do with her? After I finished asking, I suddenly felt that I was asking very naively, and there was a bit of cheapness in my naivete, as if I had a pen and paper in my hand, ready to score and evaluate my boyfriend's answer at any time, and then write an analysis report. Yu Yang said, follow the rules. If she passes the internship, I will apply for a promotion for her. If she fails the internship, she will continue the internship. If you don't concentrate on my work, you can resign or be transferred. There are detailed standardized procedures in the hospital, just follow them. But she likes you. Zhuangjie muttered. Yu Yang said disapprovingly, she never said she liked me. She was so obvious. I thought I was very obvious. Yu Yang squinted at her. Zhuangjie choked. Yu Yang didn't like Song Jingru, and it was really obvious. After thinking about this, Zhuangjie smiled, looked at Yu Yang with a smile, and asked expectantly, will you treat all the women who have bad intentions against you like you did just now? Yu Yang frowned slightly, and replied seriously, I'm not violating her, I'm criticizing her. As her superior leader, I have the responsibility and obligation to correct her ideological mistakes and misbehavior. If she insists on bringing personal emotions into work, I can only report to my superiors and make arrangements for her to transfer posts. What if you're not her leader? For example, a woman you met casually by the side of the road, Zhuangjie asked again. Yu Yang said, then we won't have contact at all. You're really not moved at all. Zhuangjie didn't give up. Yu Yang was silent for a while, propping up half of his body on his elbows, and looked at Zhuangjie suspiciously, what's the matter tonight? With so many words, I really don't want to sleep. Zhuangjie felt guilty and shrank under the quilt. Yu Yang said again, do you have no confidence in yourself? Her family is not as good as yours, her appearance is not as good as yours, her body is not as good as yours, her work attitude and ideological awareness are not as good as yours, what are you worried about? Zhuangjie was embarrassed when he heard that. Leaving aside how Yu Yang judged her work attitude, let's just talk about her ideological awareness. Where did he see it? Yu Yang raised his index finger and tapped lightly on her forehead, don't think about it, close your eyes and go to sleep. Zhuangjie obediently closed her eyes. But there seemed to be ants crawling around in her heart. After several times of deliberation, she finally couldn't hold back. She asked, Yu Yang, why do you like me? This is where Zhuangjie has been perplexed. She still remembers that day when Yu Yang rescued her as if a god came down, and it was extremely dramatic. In the blink of an eye, he accused her of murder and arrested her and put her in jail. It is true that life and death are in his hands. This man saw her escape from a perverted murderer with his own eyes, saw her go to jail for a crime, and later saw her being tricked by a blind date and scared to cry by a psychiatrist. Such an unlucky thing, witnessed all the embarrassment and ugliness of her during her lifetime. So, how could he fall in love with her? Yu Yang Jingjing looked at her for a while and asked, I really want to know. Zhuang Jie nodded vigorously. He lifted up a strand of her hair, stroked it gently, and his deep voice almost relaxed every pore of her hair. What about you, why do you like me? Zhuang Jie's cheeks were hot, she lowered her head subconsciously, and hid under the quilt. I thought, if I answered, because he is handsome, would it appear superficial? Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1305. First come, first served, you answer first. Zhuang Jie huddled under the quilt and said in a muffled voice. Yu Yang smiled and rubbed her body through the quilt. Do you want a concise answer or a detailed answer? Detailed. In detail, it's a long story. I'll tell you slowly after I'm done with this part. What about the simplified one? The streamlined one is. He smiled at the corner of his mouth, and leaned closer to kiss her cheek. It suits my taste. Zhuang Jie. Sleep, little night owl. Yu Yang patted her lightly, and fell asleep beside her on his side. The room was dark. Zhuang Jie stared at his face, finally gave up asking, approached him silently, and closed his eyes. In Zhuang Jie's view, this was the first time they slept together in the same bed. One was neatly dressed, the other was tightly covered, squeezed into a narrow iron bunk bed, tired, stiff, but warm and down to earth. The next day, Yu Yang got up very early. Zhuang Jie was still in the bed. Last night was a mess. She didn't fall asleep until 3 or 4 o'clock. She was too sleepy. Even if she could feel Yu Yang getting up now, she was so drowsy that she couldn't open her eyes. When he was in a daze, his forehead was touched gently, and his light breath sprayed on his skin, making it itchy. She heard Yu Yang whisper, "You sleep a little longer, I'll get breakfast." She gave a vague hum, or maybe she didn't make a sound, but just responded to him in her heart. After continuing to sleep for a while, his body began to feel astringent and itchy. Finally, Zhuang Jie couldn't stand it any longer. She lifted the quilt and sat up, and found that there were many small red spots on her legs. Rao Zhuang Jie was so sleepy that she woke up instantly when she saw her proud legs turned into this. She was almost 100% sure in her heart that it was the inferior chemical fiber fabric in the quilt that made her skin allergic. Legs, arms, everything. What about the face? She hurriedly took out the small mirror from her bag and took a picture. It was okay. The face is fine. Think about it too, if there are a bunch of little red spots on the face, how could Yu Yang kiss just now? Zhuang Jie was upset, so she unbuttoned the clothes to check the condition of the clothes. The front was fine, but the back was invisible. She held up the small mirror and tried to adjust the angle. When she found that there was also a red spot on the back of her neck, she was so annoyed that she almost cried out. The door rattled. Zhuang Jie was slightly startled, knowing that her clothes were disheveled at the moment. She instinctively wanted to get under the covers, but thinking of the inferior chemical fiber on that bed, she hesitated. When he hesitated, he slowed down. When Yang came in, he saw Zhuang Jie tightening his clothes, squeezing his toes, standing in front of him with an aggrieved and awkward posture. Yu Yang was slightly taken aback, walked over and looked Zhuang Jie up and down. What's wrong? Zhuang Jie raised her arm to show him, and said dejectedly, the fabric is not good, I'm allergic. Only then did Yu Yang notice that there were some deep and shallow red spots on her skin. In fact, it wasn't that serious, and it wasn't noticeable if you didn't look carefully, but her skin was white and delicate, and it was no wonder that she felt sad and distressed when such a bunch of things suddenly appeared. Yu Yang was silent for a while, put the breakfast in his hand on the table, wiped his hands with a paper towel. Come here, let me have a look. Zhuang Jie walked over, turned her back to him, and said in a distressed tone, help me see if there is anything behind. She loosened the placket, slipped most of the neckline, and raised her fluffy hair to the front, revealing a slender swan neck and charming butterfly bones. I looked in the mirror just now, and the back of my neck is really annoying. I can't even cover it up. I can't wear a scarf in the room too," she complained ramblingly. Yu Yang looked at the greasy skin on her back, raised his hands silently, and slowly stroked along the soft curve. The touch under his fingertips was soft and smooth. After stroking for a moment, he said, "Let me cover it for you." Zhuang Jia was startled. In the next moment, the kiss had landed on the back of her neck, and the hot temperature between her lips made her heart beat like thunder. "Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1307. He kissed a little deeply, and when he sucked, it brought a slight tingling pain, which flowed along the nerves on the surface of the skin to her limbs and bones, disturbing all her thoughts. Zhuang Jia didn't move at all, and didn't make a sound. Her eyes were unfocused on the ground under her feet. Her cheeks were already hot. She felt his kisses, his breathing, his hands kneading her body hard through the shirt, so hard, as if he wanted to knead her into his own body. The situation was getting out of control. Zhuang Jia vaguely knew this, but didn't want him to stop. "I like it in my heart, I like him liking myself, including being fascinated by her body. Every inch of her skin, every nerve, and every cell is changing because of him, and only changing for him." Yu Yang pushed away the breakfast on the table, hugged Zhuang Jia to the table, bowed his head and kissed her on the lips. His kisses are always tender and lingering, intoxicating. But Zhuang Jia felt that tenderness was his illusion, just like when he got a piece of chocolate when he was a child. Even though he was eager, he would patiently unwrap the thin wrapping paper, lest the chocolate inside would break. No matter how gentle children are with chocolate, they will eat it sooner or later. Zhuang Jia is Yu Yang's chocolate. She thinks Yu Yang is too bad. There was not much left on her body, but he was still well dressed and well mannered. Yu Yang gasped slightly, buried his head in the hollow of her shoulder, and asked her in a hoarse voice, "Jia Jia, how long have we been dating?" More than a month." Zhuang Jia was not sure, his head was still blurred. Yu Yang sighed softly, stroked her smooth back. "It's a little short." Zhuang Jia thought in a daze, "Actually, it's not too short. When I fell in love with someone, I dared to get married for a month. At this time, I heard him whispering in my ear, 'Do you mind having sex before marriage?'" Zhuang Jia's head froze for a moment, unable to react for a while. "Oh my God! Can you be more direct? You are like this, like this. How should I answer?" "Do you mind?" Yu Yang gently bit her earlobe. Zhuang Jia's mind was in a mess, and she blurted out, "But this is the first time for me." Yu Yang was slightly taken aback. Zhuang Jia suddenly realized what he was talking about and almost bit his tongue. "I mean, don't mind, Zhuang Jia stammered, "I mean, it's a bit sloppy, I don't mind, I'm. The more you talk, the more chaotic, and the more urgent you talk." Feeling helpless for a moment, she looked into his eyes pitifully, so deep and so dark, like an endless night that sucked her soul. She bit her lip and whispered, "I like you." Yu Yang looked at her silently, feeling that his hard-hearted heart had softened beyond recognition. "I like you." What a beautiful sentence. He kissed her forehead, touched the corner of her lips, and said with a light smile, "Well, I understand." Zhuang Jia blushed and wanted to say, "I don't even understand what I'm talking about. What do you understand?" "It's because I didn't think carefully. I should be more careful." For the first time he finished her clothes, lowered his head and fastened the buttons one by one, and said in a low voice, "To prepare flowers and wine, warm candlelight and wonderful music, soft big bed, the best, is a night full of stars." He put on her clothes and asked her with a smile, "Isn't it?" Zhuang Jia stared at him obsessively, unable to speak for a long time. With an inexplicable emotion in his chest, he couldn't help but hugged his neck tightly, and replied in his heart, "Yes, whatever you say is right." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1308. The beauty of the morning is gone, but the warmth is still there. Yu Yang let her go, took out a bath towel from his luggage bag, and spread it on the bed, temporarily solving the problem of poor quality bed sheets. As for the quilt, it cannot be covered. Fortunately, there is heating in the dormitory, so it is not too cold. You can cover your body with a coat as a quilt when you sleep. Zhuangjia climbed back on the bed and slept in the cage. Today will be very busy, and there may be no way to send you back to Qingjiang. Yu Yang said, "Are you busy with work over there? If you are not busy, stay and go back together when I am done here." Zhuangjia lay on her side and shook her head, "No need to send it off, I can take the bus back by myself. You are here busy with work, and you want people to see your girlfriend sticking to your side every day. It will not affect you well." Yu Yang thought for a while, then nodded in agreement. "When I finish the meeting, I will come back and take you to the station. Remember to open the presents." Zhuangjia blinked and reminded him, "Today is Christmas." Yu Yang smiled, picked up the gift bag, got up and left for the meeting. Zhuangjia watched the door of the dormitory close, and rolled over to sleep with peace of mind. He was covered with his coat, and he could vaguely smell his scent, which was clean and crisp, mixed with the faint fragrance of toiletries. Subtle joy lingered in her heart, recalling the scene just now. Another burst of heart palpitations. The more she thought about it, the sweeter it became. It was probably because he was so full of attention that Zhuangjia fell asleep, as if dreaming that Yu Yang Kai would come back, opened the door of the dormitory, and rubbed her buttocks like a prank. At around 10 o'clock, Zhuangjia finally got enough sleep. She wakes up energetically, dresses, washes, combs her hair, and maintains her skin. Put on the toner, and gently pat the face with the pulp of the fingers, patting and patting, unexpectedly remembering the dream just now. Zhuangjia in the mirror burst out laughing. "It's funny. That dream was too strange. In reality, Yu Yang wouldn't do such a sensual act. Even if he becomes lustful, he will seriously ask her if it is okay. He is such a person. When I thought of him, he happened to be back." When Yang opened the door and walked in, Zhuangjia was a little surprised and came back earlier than she expected. "Is the meeting over so soon?" Yeah. Yu Yang nodded slightly, went into the room and poured himself a glass of water, and said lightly, "The results from the laboratory came out. It was a macaque, short-tailed, flexible, about 50 centimeters long. Near Hudao town there are monkeys of this kind in several forests, which are quite common." Zhuangjia was surprised. Why did the monkey come to the town? This kind of macaque is highly adaptable and easy to domesticate and breed. "The monkey that broke in last night should have received special training," Yu Yang said. "Manpower has been arranged to go to the village to investigate, just see who raised the monkey, basically lock the suspect." Zhuangjia didn't know the details of the case, but hearing Yu Yang's tone, the case seemed to be solved soon. "The case is solved, so you don't need to come here again?" Zhuangjia asked. "Different places quite affect the relationship." "It's not that simple." Yu Yang smiled and patted her head. "Now I'm just figuring out a direction, and the method of committing the crime is still unclear. The rumor in the village is that the grimace that appears in the middle of the night is a mountain ghost. Whoever's family is chosen by the mountain ghost will be unlucky, and within a few days, the people of that family will really be attacked by raptors on the mountain road. We can now confirm that the so-called mountain ghost is a monkey, but how the monkey controls the raptor to attack a designated person is still an unsolved mystery. Even when a suspect is found, evidence is needed to bring him to justice." "Oh. Zhuang Jie felt lost after hearing this, feeling that Yu Yang would be busy for a long time. Then you have to pay attention to safety here, she instructed. Yu Yang smiled, let's go, I'll take you to the station. Zhuang Jie got up to get the bag, but her movements froze. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1309. She came in a hurry last night and only brought a satchel with her. After moving into Yu Yang's dormitory, the bag was placed on a chair against the wall, but now the position seems to have changed, and the bag was opened. Zhuang Jie felt strange, but didn't think too much about it, thinking it was just a mistake in his memory. However, when she picked up the bag, she found that the bag was turned into a mess. Zhuang Jie's heart skipped a beat, thinking worriedly, have you been robbed? She quickly took out her wallet, and as soon as she opened it, all the cards in it fell out. Zhuang Jie's face immediately turned pale. All her bank cards and documents were shredded. Yu Yang frowned, with an expression on his brows, has anyone been here? The handbag was brought by him from the dormitory of Hu Fangfang and Song Jingru last night. Afterwards, Zhuang Jie took the cosmetics from the bag. The bank cards and documents in the wallet were still in good condition at that time, and there was no reason why they changed overnight. So Yu Yang asked Zhuang Jie who had been here. It could only be that after he left, someone took advantage of Zhuang Jie's sleep and went into the house to rummage through the bags and destroy them. His analysis made sense, but Zhuang Jie was dumbfounded. Isn't Yu Yang the only person who could enter the house in my memory? Could it be, isn't that person Yu Yang? She thought of the man's erotic and frivolous grasping and rubbing on her buttocks. Her complexion suddenly became extremely ugly, and it was even more difficult to speak. Yu Yang stared at Zhuang Jie's face and asked her, what? Do you know who it is? Zhuang Jie lowered her head, trying to suppress the chill in her heart. When I fell asleep, I vaguely felt that someone had come in, but I don't know who it is. After hearing this, Yu Yang was silent for a while, then lifted the bag and put it on the table, check it again to see if there is anything else damaged or missing. Zhuang Jie took out all the things in the bag and checked them carefully. Everything else is there, only the contents of the wallet have been cut. Yu Yang thought for a moment, then suddenly strode out, wait for me inside, I'll be back soon. Zhuang Jie hurriedly grabbed his arm. Yu Yang turned around, saw the panic in her eyes, and realized in his heart, she was afraid. A young girl would naturally be afraid when encountering such a thing when she was away from home. He stopped, sat down with his arms around Zhuang Jie's shoulders, and took out his mobile phone to make a call. It didn't take long for Hu Fangfang, Song Jingru, Li Rui, and Tang Linhao to arrive. Suddenly called into the dormitory, the four assistants thought that Yu Yang was going to assign tasks to them, but Yu Yang asked directly, where have you been and what have you done between 9 and 10 in the morning? They also participated in the meeting this morning, but after the task was assigned, they left the meeting room one after another, and Yu Yang and the police station officials discussed the plan and did not come back until after 10 o'clock. Hu Fangfang said, I didn't have breakfast in the morning. I went to the street to find a breakfast stall after 9 o'clock. After eating, I went back to the dormitory. Song Jingru was there at the time. Song Jingru followed suit, with an indifferent expression, I read materials in the dormitory, and I haven't been anywhere. Yu Yang looked at Li Rui and Tang Linhao. Li Rui showed embarrassment, and said awkwardly, I came to find Song Jingru and gave her something. Hu Fangfang on the side interjected coolly, yes, it's a rare Christmas, so I specially squeezed a little snowman the size of a palm and sent it here, for fear that it will melt. Li Rui smiled awkwardly. Tang Linhao glanced at him lightly, and said, I came to the dormitory to look for Li Rui, and wanted to ask him something, but I didn't see anyone, so I went back. After hearing what they said, Zhuang Jie was both confused and scared. Because the alibi of each of them is not so absolute, any one of them may be the one who entered the house. Even, it might not be them at all, but other people in this dormitory. When she was terrified, Yu Yang said indifferently, "Go down and do your work."